Hello, everybody, and welcome back here to another BSN Network podcast here today. Today is Friday, June 24th. Coming off another big night last night in the world of sports. Hopefully everybody's having a day so far today and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It's Friday. We are right at the weekend now. We got to the end of the week and looking forward to a very exciting weekend full of sports. You got hockey on tonight, Game 5 between the Avalanche and the Lightning. And you got the Yankees and the Astros, their continued series continuing tonight, 7 Eastern, Game 2 of a 4-game set, and a wild win last night for the New York Yankees. A 6-3 comeback win in the bottom of the ninth, 4 runs. And what can I say? I mean, what do I have to say about this Yankee team? I mean, it really is just wild what this team is doing. It is a special group of players, and this is what the 98 Yankee team did. They came back in games. They won games where they were down 5-1, 4-1, 3-0, 6-3, and they would come back in the bottom of the ninth, come back in the late innings and win games, get big hits, and that is exactly what the New York Yankees did last night, getting 4 hits in the bottom of the ninth, 4 runs, and a big home run by Hicks, and in the walk-off single to left field by Aaron Judge. I mean, just a phenomenal night last night for the Yankees. We will get into it. It's going to be the first topic, so I don't want to spoil too much now because then I'll have nothing to talk about, or I'll just be repeating myself come when I actually talk about it on the first topic of the show. But a great win last night for the Yankees, and we will get to it. Game 1 tonight of a 3-game set in Miami with the Mets starts tonight. That will be on SNY, so Friday through Sunday, 3-game set for the Mets in Miami. And if everything goes well, it looks like Max Scherzer is going to be pitching on Sunday for the New York Mets. So that was a big plus for them, a big positive, and something that the Mets definitely need here. And their pitching staff hasn't been bad, I wouldn't say, but it's been definitely having Max Scherzer back is a nice addition back to the rotation, if you ask me. So Mets Yankees tonight. Yankees 7:05 Eastern against the Astros. Mets open up a 3-game set against the Marlins. Second game of 4-game set between the Yankees and the Astros today. Sevy versus Verlander tonight. Nasty Nestor night at the stadium, giving away t-shirts. So looking forward to tonight's game as well. All right, so let's get to the topics for today's podcast. We got a packed one today. Yankees comeback win versus the Astros. Yes, we are going to get into that. Yankees get a big win last night against the Houston Astros. Things looked very bad. Things weren't looking good. And then in the bottom of the ninth, we've seen this before with this team. They come back in a big way, score 4 runs in the bottom of the ninth, and win the game 7-6. We will recap it all, give you it all. I got my scorebook, I got all the stats, and I'm ready to recap this game because this was a wild one at Yankee Stadium. So we'll get to that. We'll also get to the Knicks crazy draft night. Yes, I said the Knicks crazy draft night because it was a wild night. It was not a very good night for the New York Knicks. It was not a night where Knicks fans really want to remember. Number one, trying to figure out, and I'm a Yankee fan, right? So I'm watching the game. I did not even watch the NBA draft last night, right? I know all the picks. I got caught up on all of them. I did not watch 1 second of the NBA draft. I'm going to be honest with you. I was watching the entirety of that Yankee game, and I was doing the scorebook, so I can't switch channels. I did not watch 1 minute of that draft. But in between commercials, I would go on and see what's going on with the draft because I got to follow because I know I was going to talk about it today on the podcast, so I got to have somewhat of knowledge of what I'm doing. And sure enough, you hear all these crazy rumors about the Knicks and all these crazy things about the Knicks, and you're like, what is going on with this team? And you thought, and I laid out all the different possibilities yesterday of where they could go, the different routes, and the Knicks decided to just completely go, no, we're not going to do any of that, and we're just going to go and do our own thing, and we are going to completely randomly just mess this up. So the Knicks had a wild night last night of all these trades. They did not even come out of last night. They had one player, I think, that they came out of last night with a second-round pick. They made all these crazy trades, and they traded Kemba. They had all these, now they free up all this cap space for Jalen Brunson, what everybody is assuming. This is bad by the Knicks. This is risky, and I'm going to tell you why. So we'll get to that. We'll also finish things off with the New York Sports Update. Also, a very shocking number 1 overall pick. Not many people saw Paolo Banchero going number 1. He did, and sure enough, Magic got their number 1 overall pick. A lot of people saw Jabari Smith going. Paolo Banchero went. So we'll see how all that plays out. But we'll also finish off a New York sports update and the sports update as well. Yankees tonight against the Astros, game 2 of 4 game set. First game of 3 game set against the Marlins for the Mets. And also tonight, game 5, Avalanche Lightning. Avalanche look to close out the Stanley Cup in their home building tonight. So looking forward to that game as well. All right, so a lot to get to today on the podcast. This is the BSN podcast, and let's get into it. So last night was a wild one. You obviously had the game that started off crazy. It was a wild game to say the least. Game 1 of a 4-game set between the Yankees and the Astros, obviously at Yankee Stadium, 2 best teams in the American League. Yankees entered last night with a 51-18 record. Astros entered last night with a 43-25 record. And one of the unique things going into last night's game was not just the good records, not just the dominance in the American League from both these teams, but the Yankees entered last night 12 games up on Toronto, and the Astros entered last night 10 games up on Texas. So both teams had double-digit leads separating them from the first-place team and the second-place team in their division, respectively the AL East and the AL West. So last night, a 4-game set, all the hype, all the excitement did not disappoint. And I'm not just saying that because of the wild ending to the game. I'm saying that because of the way things played out in the beginning of the game, and definitely the wild ending. But the way things played out in the beginning of the game was wild. 6 runs combined in the top of the first and the bottom of the first. 3 by the Astros and the bottom of the first. It was 3 more by the Yankees. So the Astros score a quick 3 in the first by a home run by Bregman. It was a 3-run shot that scored Altuve and Brantley. Bregman hits a 3-run shot. Then Tyone puts down the rest of the order, Alvarez, Tucker, and Gurriel. And you go down. Yankees come up in the top of the first, and they are winning, or they are down 3-0. Yankees then respond in the bottom of the first with a home run from Stanton. It was also a 3-run shot. LeMahieu scores, Judd scores, and obviously Stanton with the home run. And then after that, the Yankees were quiet, and that was the big thing. Like, Tyone last night wasn't very good. Tyone did not pitch very well last night. Astros was hitting him right from the start. The 3 runs in the first inning. He did settle down a little bit in the second inning, and you're thinking to yourself, all right, he had a quick 1, 2, 3 second inning. You're thinking to yourself, all right, maybe this is just, maybe it was one bad inning, and you're just hoping to yourself that it was just one bad inning, he could still give you a quality start of 6+ innings of 3-run ball. That was not the case, though. Astros then come back in the top of the third with 3 more runs. Another home run by Alvarez, 3-run shot scoring Altuve and Bregman. And this game, by the way, could not have gone off to a weirder start because Tyone hits Bregman. Or hits Altuve, rather. So Altuve gets hit. He scores a run in the first. Then Altuve hits a single in the third. He scores another run. Altuve last night had a phenomenal night for his standards. 3 for 4, 2 runs scored, no RBIs, but 3 hits last night. 2 doubles, a single, and he got hit by a pitch. So he got on, out of the 4 at-bats, he got on all, obviously the hit by pitch doesn't count as an at-bat. But he then popped out to Rizzo in the 9th inning. But Altuve last night was phenomenal. He went 3 for 4 with 2 runs scored. And you're thinking to yourself, geez, we hit him in the first inning, he comes around to score. He gets a single in the 3rd inning, he comes around to score. And then he gets a double in the 4th, double in the 6th. I mean, he had a great night last night. And all the fans are booing him, and rightfully so. But, he had a great night last night for, his standards. I mean, he's a great player. You know what he brings to the table. He went into last night's game batting .269. He comes out of it batting .278. So his batting average goes up 9 points from last night. But he got on. He was getting on base. And, when Jordan Alvarez hit that home run, that's 6-3, and you're thinking to yourself, geez. And then you're thinking to yourself, look, and this is where the Yankees show us that they can win in so many ways, because you're going to have nights where your pitching's not on. Last night was the case. Now, the bullpen stepped up big time. Litke, Abreu, Castro all throw 3 1/3 scoreless, 3 innings scoreless. Obviously, Litke coming in for 1 1/3 innings, he threw scoreless. Abreu, 1 inning, scoreless. Castro, 1 inning, scoreless. So the bullpen did what they needed to do. They held it down, and those aren't your high-end relievers, too. It wasn't like they were going to Michael King. It wasn't like they were going to Clay Holmes. Those were just, other guys coming out of the bullpen, picking up, doing their job. Abreu, getting called up for the first time this season. Obviously, he was a Yankee last year. You all know how that story went. Trading him for Trevino to Texas, and then they were able to get Abreu back. So kind of a really bad deal for Texas and a really good deal for the Yankees that they get, they obviously got Trevino, who's been great, and then they also have Abreu back now. I don't fully agree with them optioning Clark Schmidt, but that's besides the point. Bullpen did their job, and the Yankees showed again last night how they can win in so many different ways. They can beat you with their bats. They did that last night. They can beat you with their pitching. They've done that over the Tampa series. They can beat you with the bullpen. They showed that last night. Who had the better bullpen last night? The Yankees. Who blew the game? The Astros. If you have a good bullpen, you're gonna win a lot of games. If you struggle and your bullpen's not very good, you're gonna lose games. Yankees bullpen last night was great. Astros bullpen was terrible, especially Presley and Stanek. They both come in, don't do anything, record 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth, and that's it. And after a quality, good start from Framber Valdez, who bounced back from that first inning, actually retired the Yankees in order all the way up until the 6th inning when Rizzo worked that 16-pitch walk, which, by the way, was the longest at-bat in Yankee history. After that, Valdez, his pitch count went way up. And you could make the argument that if it wasn't for that Anthony Rizzo at-bat, Yankees might not be in this situation where they get a win. Because that just completely took his pitch count all the way up. He ended up only finishing out that inning, and that was it for Framber Valdez. Now Hector Neris came in. He worked the 1-3 inning. Montero came in, worked the 1-2-3 inning. So you could make the argument, it really wasn't. It wasn't like the next inning Yankees started really beating down their bullpen. It came down to the bottom of the ninth where they beat up Presley and Stanek. Mostly Presley, because those were his runners. He allowed all 4 runs. Stanek came in, and then, the runner, Trevino, who scored, was Presley's runner. So it was all Presley, but Stanek came in and couldn't stop the bleeding. But back to the 3rd inning, right? You get the runs, and it's 6-3, and after that, there's really not much going on. It's kind of 1-2-3, 1-2-3. It was not a good game for Taillon. It was probably one of his worst starts of the season. And he still gave you some length. He still went 5 2/3. He did allow 10 hits, 6 runs, 6 earns. Obviously, did not walk guys. He had 3 strikeouts. Look, I think the no walks, I think, just shows you that, look, last night they were just hitting him. That was the reality. It wasn't like he was walking everybody. It wasn't like he was, doing all this different stuff, walking guys. They were just hitting him. They had 10 hits off of Jameson Taillon last night. He did not have 1 walk. They were just hitting him. He left a couple of his pitches over the plate. You got to give credit to the Astros there. But Taillon still was able to give us length, and that was big because not only is that big for last night's game, but it's big because you didn't have to use your whole bullpen. You had to use 3 guys, and those 3 guys didn't have to work that hard either. 13 pitches by Litke, 17 by Abreu, 15 by Castro. They didn't have to work very hard to get out of their innings. Now, Abreu, maybe a little bit. He did have the first and second, a little bit of a jam there, but he was able to get out of it. Still with 17 pitches, 9 of them were strikes. So not a quick, easy 12-pitch inning by any means, or a quick, easy 9-pitch inning. But he still was able to get out of it. And a guy who can give you some length. So 17 pitches isn't a ton for Abreu. Neither is it for Litke. And he also went extended. He pitched an inning a third, so he was able to get an out. He got Brantley out in the bottom of the 6th, and then he was able to work a quick 1-3 inning in the 7th. A strikeout and then 2 ground outs to LeMahieu in the top of the 7th. So he worked well, and that's where the bullpen came in big. And that's Michael Kay kept bringing it up last night on the broadcast where your bullpen, if it steps up and, you could save arms, that can help you in other games. That can help you tomorrow night. That can help you the night after that. Same thing here with the Astros. Presley had to throw 26 pitches, and he only recorded 1 out. He's not going to be available tonight, and there's maybe a good chance he might not be available again on Saturday. Now, maybe that's a bad thing for the Yankees because they obviously were hitting off of him, so maybe it's better off if he is available because he's a guy that the Yankees are going to dominate. But he allowed 3 hits, 4 runs, 4 earned, 2 walks, no strikeouts. 26 pitches, 13 strikes. So his strike to ball ratio was bad. 13 pitches, or 26 pitches, 13 were strikes. So he threw 13 balls as well in last night's game. He threw 13 strikes, 13 balls. So 50-50, that's not a good strike-to-ball ratio. So a terrible night for him. And I found this interesting going into last night's game. When I was getting my book ready, I go on the depth chart to find out. Now, the Yankees bullpen, I obviously know off the back of my hand. Abreu, Marinaccio, King, Schmidt, Holmes, Peralta, Benuelos, Litke. Once Chapman comes back, all that stuff, you add those guys in there. Schmidt, too, but he got optioned, but he's also a guy, too. And I knew, so I look up the team's depth charts, and I was so shocked to see when I looked at and I know the Astros have a couple lefties. I think their 2 lefties are on the IL, but they were rolling with an entire right-handed bullpen. Presley, Stanek, Neris, Matin, Montero, Abreu, Martinez, and Bielik, however you pronounce his name. All of them righties. And in the bullpen section here in my scorebook, no lefties. So I found it very weird. And when Yes showed the lineups, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing somebody, or I put down a right. I don't think I've ever really seen that before, where usually teams are more right. I mean, it's just in the entire, in just regular everyday life, there's more righties out there than lefties. But I don't think I've ever really seen an entire right-handed bullpen, which makes it interesting because you don't always have those good lefty-on-lefty matchups, where you'd have to force the team to pinch hit, or, you get a good matchup, because if you could have brought in a lefty there, and then, maybe pitched a lefty to, Hicks is a switch hitter, so he would have went to the right side, but, lefty arms are so pivotal, especially out of the bullpen, and I was shocked to see that they had no lefty arms. I mean, it's obviously working because their bullpen going into last night, I believe, had like a 2.55 ERA, which was, I think, the best amongst every bullpen in baseball. So their bullpen's been great. So it's obviously been working whatever they've been doing. But last night, it obviously came back to hurt them. So Yankees just weren't doing much offensively. It was quick 1, 2, 3 innings, quick 1, 2, or 3 innings. And now Valdez did throw 101 pitches, but if it wasn't for that 16-pitch at-bat, there's a good chance Valdez might work into the 8th inning because he was at like 70 pitches, or 80 pitches through 6 1/3, and he was cruising. And you're thinking, sorry, if he gets out of this with maybe 75, 80 pitches, 85 pitches, he gets out of this, works another quick inning. There's a chance Valdez definitely could have went out there for the 7th. But, Rizzo just got that. And I was hoping that Rizzo at-bat, with that 16-pitch at-bat, could have almost fueled the Yankees a little bit in a way. It obviously didn't. But then you go to the bottom of the 7th, nothing going. Bottom of the 8th, nothing going. So, other than the bottom of the 8th, Judge reaches on an error, then Rizzo flies out the center. Or the right, which was a great play. I got to give it to him. Great play by Tucker. Kyle Tucker. I mean, amazing play. Robbed of an extra base hit for sure. Not sure if that was a home run robbery. His glove went over the wall. But I don't know if that was kind of him catching it and just banging into the wall and his hand hitting there. I would probably say that might have been a home run, just by a little bit. It was a line drive shot. It was a great play by Kyle Tucker. And it almost, that stung too, because if he hits that home run, then Stanton's coming up after that. And you're thinking to yourself, Stanton's already hit a home run today. And Stanton tends to hit his home runs in bunches. You're thinking to yourself, all right, this is a 6-5 game. Stanton comes up, boom, there's your tie and run. And then boom. And then in the 9th, all you're going to need is one run. But that doesn't happen. So now you go to the 9th. And like I said, bullpen continues to hold it down. 1 through 3 inning. Abreu gets out of a little jam he caused. And then Castro, other than the walk to Bregman, he was good. Got Altuve to pop out, got Brantley to line out, and then struck out Alvarez for the 3rd out of the inning and his first strikeout of the game. So now you go to the bottom of the 9th. And this is where this Yankee team continues to show us why they're so special and continues to show us why they are similar to the 98 team and why just to basically say it, this is why the Yankees are where they're at 52-18. 70 games into the season, 52-18. They are here because of these late inning comebacks. They're here because this team does not, fight. This team does not, give up. This team does not just say, oh, it's a 6-3 game, whatever, we'll get ready for tomorrow. No, this team continues to battle. This team continues to fight. And I say this, even in the games they lose, they are in those games. And obviously they've won a lot of those comeback games. But even in the games that they lose, they are close. Tampa, they were close. Toronto, they were close. Had second and third 2 outs in Toronto in the 9th inning. 1-run game. Can't ask for much more than that. Right? And then again last night. And you even see the games in Tampa where they won. 2-0 game. They let up the 2-run lead. Then they put up 2 more in the top of the 9th. That's just what this team does. And that is what the 98 Yankees did. I would always hear stories from people about, they would go to bed. Some people would go to bed. You would go to bed at like 9:30. And it would be like a 5-1 game. You wake up the next morning, and the Yankees, you look at your phone, and boom, it was a 7-6 game. Yankees won, or Yankees came back. It was a 4-1 game. People, would turn it off or whatever, say, I'm going to bed. Yankees would come back. Same thing this season. Literally the same exact thing. 6-3 game. A lot of Yankee fans probably said, you know what, we're not hitting. Yankees last night had 2 hits. 2 hits going into the 9th inning. The only 2 hits came in the top of the first. After that, they went scoreless, hitting. They did not have a hit from the second inning all the way to the 8th inning. They ended up putting up 4 hits, obviously, in the bottom of the 9th. But they went into the 9th with 2 hits. And there was only 2 hits coming in the the first inning. So they didn't get a hit for about 6 innings. Or 8 innings, actually. They didn't get a hit for 8 innings. Because first inning, they got actually, I guess, 7 innings. Because 9, 7 plus 2. So they went 7 innings of scoreless. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 innings. From the second inning to the 8th inning, they didn't get a hit. They only left 1 man on base, and that was in the bottom of the 6th. So going into the 9th inning, your hopes obviously aren't great, but, it starts to get better. And that's what it is with this team, though. Your hopes might not be the highest, rightfully so, because it's a 3-run game. It's an Astros team that's good. But then Stanton works the walk. And you're like, all right, boom, that's a good at-bat by Stanton. Works the walk. Presley was all over the place. Good AB by Stanton. Then Torres works the walk. And that's when I started to really feel like, all right, this is going to happen again, isn't it? And I'm thinking to myself, all right, we got first and second, nobody out. First and second, nobody out. Like, that's golden. No longer are we saying, all right, first and second, nobody out. Tying run comes to the plate. And what do you know? Aaron Hicks comes up. Now, in that situation, if you had to ask a Yankee fan, who would you want up? Not many would say Aaron Hicks. A lot of people would probably say Judge, LeMahieu, Stanton, Torres had been swinging a hot bat. I'm sure maybe some people would say him. Trevino, because he just seems to have magic, especially his walk-off hits. And when he hits them, he had the one walk-off on his dad's birthday, and he hit another walk-off on his son's birthday. So whenever he hits the walk-offs, there's always a special day for him and his family. So he's just got that magic to him. So maybe Trevino, but Hicks and Gallo probably at the bottom of a lot of Yankee fans' list of who they would want up in the bottom of the 9th. And sure enough, Hicks comes up, going into the game batting 232, comes out of it batting 233, so goes up 1, and then he just hits an absolute bomb to right field. And that was not taking advantage of the short porch. That ball was out in a blink. That ball was smoked. All Astros could do was turn around and watch it go. And Hicks rounds the bases with a 3-run home run to tie the game. And I couldn't believe it. I was ecstatic. That might have been the most pumped up I've been for a Yankees this season. Because you got to realize, this wasn't just a comeback win. This was a comeback win against your rivals, the cheaters, the Astros, who we don't like each other. It's a rivalry, and it's a comeback win when you know the Astros probably thought they had this game in the bag, and they didn't. Hicks comes up big, 3-run shot, points to it, does a little motion to the Yankees dugout, gets them pumped up, and the Yankees tie the game at 6 with a 3-run bomb there. Now, the inning's not over. You don't even have an out yet. So, Kiner Falefa then singles. And I disagree with the call. He then gets caught stealing at second. I really disagree with the call. I don't know how he was out. I thought it was pretty clear he was safe. I thought it was a pretty bang-bang. He was on the bag. Tag came down. They obviously didn't see that. They reviewed it. So, obviously, it was probably the right call because they had all the different angles. There was the one angle that probably played more towards the Astros side. Ultimately, what I think came down to it, that call to call him safe, was the fact that, look, it was originally he was out. So you're going to have to find enough to overturn it. And I think it would have been, if they originally called him safe and the Astros said, oh, no, he's out, and they challenged it, probably would have called him safe. Because you got to realize, when they originally call you out or safe and another team challenges, they have to find enough to reverse that. I thought it was pretty clear that he was safe, but there obviously wasn't completely enough there to totally say, look, we're reversing this. There was probably more evidence to the side that he was out. So he ended up out, and that stunk a little bit, because then Trevino hits the single, and you're thinking to yourself, all right, and then the center fielder bobbles it. And if that's in the heat of the moment, Falefa's scoring, especially if he's safe. He's scoring from second home, especially because the center fielder bobbled the ball. So he's probably scoring there. You're thinking, all right, that's the game. So it took a little bit of the wind out of it. But then Trevino hits the single, and then he gets on. So it's almost like nothing really happened, because Trevino just trade places, which Falefa goes to first. Gallo strikes out, not surprising. Now it's 2 outs, runner on first. This is where things really get interesting, because LeMahieu works a very good at-bat Now remember, Stanek came in to pitch to Gallo. He struck out Gallo, and then he walked LeMahieu. Now, that was a very good at-bat by LeMahieu. Fouled a couple pitches off. Obviously, it was a walk, but a very, very good AB. He's a professional hitter. That one pitch, that 100-mile-an-hour pitch that he laid off of 4-ball for, a lot of guys would swing at that pitch. Up, away, looks good coming in, high velocity. A lot of guys would swing at that. LeMahieu didn't. Put together a good AB. So he gets the first. So now it's first and second. 2 outs for Judge. Now, Judge, 3 balls, not even close. I think there was 2 in the dirt, and then maybe 1 low. There was 1 low, and I think 2 in the dirt. Not even close. Now, you remember, Rizzo's coming up. So, and I'm standing there, and I'm standing there watching the game, and I'm thinking, I was saying, why would you walk Judge in this spot? And I understand why, but they weren't even giving him any competitive pitches, because Rizzo's coming up, and Rizzo is a professional hitter. And he's a guy, too, that just worked a 16-pitch at-bat in the 6th inning. So, it's not going to be easy to strike him out. There's no place to put him. He's going to work you deep into the count. He's going to wear you down. So, I'm thinking to myself, if you just walk Judge here to bring up a very good hitter in Rizzo, what's the point? So, they end up giving Judge a pitch right down the middle, and he takes that thing to left field, line drive single, Yankees win. Trevino scores from second to first. LeMahieu obviously goes to second. In my book here, I don't have him going to third. I know some people do, some people don't. It doesn't really matter. Judge hits the walk-off. That pitch was right down the middle. They gave him the green light 3-0. Gave him the green light in the bottom of the 9th, 2 outs on 3-0. That just shows you how much Luis Rojas and that team trusts Judge in that spot to come up with a big hit. Not many guys are getting the green light 3-0. Because if you get the green light 3-0 and you either swing and miss, or you foul it off, or even worse, you swing at ball 4 and then it's a 3-1 count and now it seems like the pitcher's right back into it. Or even worse, you swing at 3-0 and you pop it up and it's out. He swung at it 3-0, a beautiful line drive single, and the Yankees win, walk off Aaron Judge, and they score 4 runs in the bottom of the 9th. And what a win for the New York Yankees. What a win. 4 runs in the bottom of the 9th, 4 hits, no errors. They left 2 on base, which doesn't really mean much, because technically Judge was left on base and LeMahieu, but that doesn't matter. So Yankees finished with 7 runs, 6 hits, no errors, 5 left on base. Castro gets the win, so he moves to 4-0. Presley takes the loss. He's 1-2. 44,000 last night showed up. 44,071 fans. Time of the game was 3 hours, 24 minutes. Started at 7:08, ended at 10:32. So it was a long one. It wasn't your short 2 hours and 50 minutes or 3 hour right on the dot type game. It was definitely a long one, and definitely the first inning took a long time. 6 runs in the first inning took a long time, and then it kind of started to really go quick, especially when the Yankees were going down in order. But just a great win by the Yankees. And I continue to say with this team is special. It is a special group. This is a special team. This is what the '98 Yankees were like, and I never witnessed them, but this is what this is the type of comebacks they would make. 4 runs in the bottom of the ninth. Yankees win 7-6. So a great win last night, and now Judge today his arbitration hearings today. So he'll put an offer on the table that he thinks he's worth. Yankee will put their offer on the table that thinks he's worth, and the arbitrators will figure out which side's better. Now they cannot, and this is what stinks. They cannot go off of this year's stats. They have to go off of last year's numbers and last year's play. Now, last year, he was very good. He was an all-star, had a very good season. But it was not what he's doing this season. This season, he's on an MVP pace, batting now .304, coming up big in all these games. Judge's second walk-off this season. He had the single last night, then he had the home run earlier in the year against the Blue Jays against Jordan Romano, who's one of the better closers in all of baseball. So, Judge has done it up against some very good pitching. So, you got to pay the man. You got to give Judge all the money. You cannot possibly, and he continues to come up big. He continues to show us all that he comes up big. Brian Cashman, Hal Steinbrenner, wake up. It's time. I've given you guys a lot of credit for putting this team together, but it's time now to step up and give this guy money. Because every time he comes up with a big hit like he did last night, it just continues to show you how pivotal he is to this team. I mean, he's just such a good player. He's the best player right now in all of baseball. Yes, I said it. Yankees are the best team in baseball. This team is special. We are witnessing something special. And what a win for the New York Yankees last night. So a great win for the Yankees, 7-6. And a great night there. Now, not so good of a night for Knicks fans. Now, I know there's a lot of Knicks fans out there that obviously are big Yankee fans. So the Yankees win, I'm sure, helped them get over it. But not a good night for the Knicks. Not a good night for the Knicks at all. Very good night for the Yankees, like I said. But we'll get to the Knicks here. So the NBA draft was last night, and we go into the draft. I have my whole draft possibilities. I have all these different things that that the Knicks could have done. Right, I have all these different possibilities, and I showed them to you yesterday. And I have all these different things. I say, Knicks could do this, Knicks could go this route, Knicks could go here, and the Knicks decide to kind of nick and go all out and do the complete opposite of what anybody saw coming. So last night, obviously, first of all, to start off, the draft last night was very, very wild. I don't think many people saw the results of it coming. I don't think many people saw Paolo Banchero going number 1. I don't think many people saw Jabari Smith going number 3. But he did go to Houston. I find it funny. 4 of the first picks were power forwards. Banchero, Holmgren, Smith, Keegan Murray. And then Jaden Ivey got picked number 5. So really outside of the number 1 overall pick, there wasn't much surprise because Chet Holmgren was a lock to go number 2. No matter who went number 1, he was a lock to go number 2, unless if obviously he went number 1. Now, Jabari Smith went number 3, and that's the reality. Whoever wasn't going number 1, whether Banchero or Smith didn't go number 1, they were going to go number 3 to the Rockets. So Keegan Murray goes 4, Jaden Ivey then goes 5, and it was just a wild night for the Knicks because Jaden Ivey goes 5. Now, a lot of Knicks fans wanted Jaden Ivey badly. Like, a lot of them wanted the Knicks, Leon Rose and company, to trade up with the Pistons, find a way to get to that number 5 spot, which we heard rumors that the Knicks were talking about it earlier in the week, about a possible trade involving Cam Reddish to get Jaden Ivey. The Knicks did not do that. And so Pistons get Jaden Ivey. And then you hear the rumors that the Knicks are going all out or trying still to get a deal done for Jaden Ivey if trying to get a deal done for Jaden Ivey if Jalen Duren, who's a center out of Memphis, falls to the Knicks and they draft him, possibly could be interest in the Pistons swapping those players and maybe some other picks. So you're like, all right, Knicks night has just started. It's only beginning. And then the Knicks are on the clock, and that's when everything just completely exploded. And I really, to this second, I don't really know completely what the Knicks were doing last night. Because I still don't think a lot of people completely realize what the Knicks did last night. And Leon Rose is not expected to talk to the press. He's not expected to talk to, the media. And I think that's a big issue because I think he needs to clarify and kind of clear the air on what in the world the Knicks were doing last night. Because they didn't make a trade for Jaden Ivey. A lot of people wanted that. And I think that would have been perfect. Jaden Ivey is another cornerstone guy. He's a point guard. Purdue, you saw what he could do in March Madness. Great player. Got so much better from his freshman year at Purdue up until last season, his sophomore season. You know what he's capable of when he's out there. Purdue, Big Ten. Played in some of the big games in the March Madness. I know they obviously lost to St. Peter's, but still, is no stranger to the big stage. And the Knicks just kind of let it go. Kind of just let the possibility of getting Jaden Ivey go. It was just not a good night for the Knicks. It was a night to forget if you're a New York Knicks fan, because I'll tell you this. For the time being, it's a night to forget. If the New York Knicks don't cash in on a big-time free agent or cash in on what a lot of people believe is their top target, Jalen Brunson, you'll look back at last night as a failed night for the New York Knicks, and maybe a night that sets the franchise back from where they already are now. And I understand they got, I understand they had a second round pick. They used it on Trevor Keels out of Duke. So RJ Barrett has some familiarity with him, knows him a little bit, tweeted something out about him. And I know Leon Rose is kind of known for bringing in those later picks. He got quickly later on in the first round, Quentin Grimes. Now you bring in, the guy out of Duke. Now you wonder, okay, maybe, he cashes on another later round pick. But the fact that the Knicks didn't even come out of it with a first round talent, the fact that they basically just traded away their first round pick and they got nobody back, shows you they traded Kemba, they cleared up cap space. It kind of just shows you that the Knicks are going all out for Jalen Brunson. And that's extremely risky because the Knicks had a lot of options in this draft. They had many avenues of where they could have went in this draft. And they decided to take the completely wild avenue and the one that has probably the most highest risk to fail. And that is not taking a player in the first round, instead trading away, clearing up cap space so you can go out and get a guy that you're not even guaranteed you're going to get. And a guy who most likely, if the Mavericks give him a good enough offer, which they plan on doing, the GM said, will probably stay in Dallas. What is Leon Rose, Worldwide Wes and Company doing with the New York Knicks? I mean, a terrible draft night last night for the Knicks. You had so many different options. Trading up, trading back, gathering more picks, sitting at 11 and just taking a guy. Maybe making this big-time trade for a proven player. Knicks said nope to all those. Traded out of their pick. They did get multiple first-round picks. I don't know when those are going to happen. And now the Knicks are putting all their poker chips in. Going all in on Jalen Brunson. And I got to ask you this. Because I think Jalen Brunson, I'm not trying to doubt his ability of what he's capable of doing. But we saw what he could do in the postseason. We saw what he can do while he was next to Luka in Dallas. But I'm not trying to downgrade what he can do because he's a great player and really broke out this season. He's only 25 years old. He's got a really bright future. He's going into his 5th season. He seems to continue to be getting better. But let me ask you this. He's coming off of a career year, right? Is Jalen Brunson really the guy? Because like I said, he's a great player. But when you really look at the grand scheme of things, Jalen Brunson's not an elite point guard. He's not an elite player. He's not a top 5 player in the NBA. Now, sometimes you don't need those guys. Jalen Brunson, a lot of people believe, can turn into that, especially after the year he had this year. But is it really worth it to completely forget about your draft, not take anybody in the first round, trade away all these picks, clear up all this cap space, to go all in for Jalen Brunson? I mean, I'm not trying to sit here and say Jalen Brunson's not a good player. I know what he's capable of. We all saw it. If you watch the playoffs, you know what I'm talking about. But is this really the move that the Knicks want to make? That best fits their franchise. Jalen Brunson, for all we know, as long as he doesn't ask out in Dallas, he's going to be there for a long time. Knicks are going to have to find a way to get Jalen Brunson. They're going to have to just go all out and outbid for him. And then if Jalen Brunson then chases the money, does he really want to be here? Be with the Knicks? That's the question you got to ask. So basically what the Knicks did last night was went all out in saving money, saving cap space, so they can bring in Jalen Brunson, which at this point, who even knows if that's going to happen? And if the Knicks don't get Jalen Brunson, and they don't do much at all in this offseason, and they win 30 games next year, you will look back on this offseason as maybe one of the biggest failed offseasons in Knicks history. So for the Knicks and Leon Rose and company, a lot of your jobs, a lot of your spots in the organization are going to stay, are going to be on the line whether or not you sign Jalen Brunson in free agency. That's ultimately what it's going to come down to. And I don't know if anybody else was confused last night, because I was very confused myself when you had the two tweets from Woj and Shams basically sum up the night. So Shams tweeted, sources, Hornets traded Jalen Duren to the Knicks. Then Woj tweets, 1 second later, the Pistons are acquiring Jalen Duren at number 13 in a trade, source tells ESPN. So you have one tweet that says, Knicks get Duren. Then the next tweet said, the Pistons are acquiring Duren. What were the Knicks doing last night? Trading Kemba Walker to free up cap space for Jalen Brunson, who even knows what's going to happen. If he's even going to come to the New York Knicks. If he's even going to leave Dallas. So a bad night last night for the Knicks. And the Knicks are putting all their poker chips in to a point guard in which who even knows if he's even going to... Who even knows? Who even knows what's going to happen? Just not a good night for the Knicks. The Knicks last night had a lot of options, had a lot of different things they could have done to improve the roster, and they completely went. They completely took a strong left-hand turn the other way. Options were on the right side. Knicks just said, nope, we don't want those. We're going this way. Terrible night for the Knicks. I mean, just an embarrassing night for the New York Knicks. And if this works out, if they do go out and get Jalen Brunson, and you look at this night being the reason why, because they cleared up cap space, great, good. But Jalen Brunson, just remember that. Are you really that confident in getting him? And if so, he's a good player, but is he worth completely just throwing away your draft night? I just don't get it. So I'm glad I'm not a Knicks fan, because there's a lot of Knicks fans today in pain. Now, not much going on positive for the Nets. And I was actually planning on, if the Yankees never made their comeback win last night, I was planning on today being an all-basketball day. I was going to talk about the Nets and the continued Kyrie drama, and I was also going to talk about the Knicks because they're terrible. They don't know what they're doing. So, anyway, Knicks draft day trade. So, 3 future conditional first-round picks from OKC via Detroit and Washington, and 1 from Detroit. Outgoing draft rights to Osame Dieng, 11th pick in the 2022 draft to OKC. 1 future first-round pick to OKC to Charlotte via Denver. 4 future second-round picks to Charlotte. Draft rights to Jalen Duren, 13th pick in 2022 NBA draft to Detroit from Charlotte. And then there's other stuff, but that's just a little bit of it. It was just wild. I mean, it's wild. It really is shocking what the Knicks did last night. So, wild night for the Knicks, great night for the Yankees, and let's get to the New York sports update. So, you got the Avalanche Lightning tonight. I'll take the Avs to finish off the series. Mets, Marlins, I'll get to that in a second. Rays, Pirates, Guardians, Red Sox, Braves, Dodgers, Nationals, Rangers, Royals, A's, Blues, Brewers. I apologize. Blue Jays, Brewers. This isn't hockey. Orioles, White Sox, Rockies, Twins, Cubs, Cardinals, Mariners, Angels, Phillies, Padres, Tigers, D-backs, and the Reds, Giants. And as for the Mets, Marlins, Mets come into tonight's game 45-26. Marlins come into tonight's game 32-36. 6:40 p.m. Eastern. You can find out on SNY. Mets got Taijuan Walker on the mound. He's 5-2 with a 2.88 ERA. And the Marlins got Sandy Alcantara on the mound. He's 7-2 with a 1.72 ERA. Over-under set at 7.5. Yankees are also on tonight. Game 2 of a 4-game set from Yankee Stadium. Yankees come into tonight's game 52-18. Astros come into tonight's game 43-26. Tonight's game goes on 7-5 p.m. Eastern on Prime Video. The Astros got Justin Verlander on the mound. He's 8-3 with a 2.30 ERA. Yankees got Luis Severino on the mound. He's 4-1 with a 3.27 ERA. Over-under is set at 7.5. So we'll see how all that plays out. All right, so let's see here. So for my main fantasy league, I am currently winning 203 to 194, so it's close. And I've got Taijuan Walker on the mound tonight. That's my only pitcher. In my non-main league, I am currently blowing out my opponent 161 to 38, and I've got Michael Kopech on the mound. Now, there is some injuries thing. Like I said, I have Taijuan Walker on the mound. So, I hope that Walker pitches well, but Mets lose. Because, it's never a bad thing to see the Mets lose. It's funny. Because you see all these Met fans. It's funny. You see all these Met fans, they're jealous of the Yankees. And then you see them making fun of the... It's just funny. It is it's funny. So anyway, that's what I got for the podcast today, and another good week in the books here of the podcast. So Mets tonight, Yankees tonight as well. Yankees look to win another game, comeback fashion maybe again. The comeback wins are great, but for the fans' health and heartbeat and heart rate and blood pressure, it definitely raises that, because I get into every game. I've always said as a fan, regular season games, I'm into it all. You want to, you got to treat every game as a fan like it's the championship, like it's the final game. You got to just, be into it, cheer loud and all that. So, looking forward to tonight's game with the Yankees. If you take tonight's game, you'll be in a good spot. So, I'm looking forward to that. So, that will do it for another very good week of podcasts in the books. A lot to look forward to this weekend. As you all know, I take weekends off, so enjoy your weekend. Enjoy all the sports are on. Enjoy it. Have a very good weekend. As always, I do my Bubs Talking Baseball podcast on Sunday, so if you're interested in watching that, that will be up on Sunday. You can find that on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. And as for the regular all sports podcasts, Monday through Friday here, enjoy your weekend. I will see you all on the flip side back here on Monday. And, see you all back here on Monday. Hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for watching.